Positively Ernie with Ernie Anastas, a New York TV legend and radio host with great positive stories and interviews.
Thanks, Ernie. You're the best.
And now, here's Ernie.
Hey everybody, welcome to the show. Back again. I love doing this program and it's positive. And when we talk about positivity, I want to introduce you to somebody that I think is a very positive, uplifting person. You know her. She's a household name. Nicole Miller is here, ladies and gentlemen. Here she is. So nice to have you. Hold my hands.
Great to see you.
So good to see you, Nicole. I mean, listen, who doesn't know you? I mean, a fashion designer, businesswoman, great personality. I want to talk to you about so many things today. You feel comfortable here?
Yeah, love it here.
You like the environment? Is it nice?
You're making me very comfortable.
Well, you know what? I have so many things to talk to you about. You just told me you came back from Paris, right?
Yeah, yesterday. Uh-huh.
You were in Paris. Now, Paris is important to you because I read, that you went to RISD in Rhode Island, great school. But then you were in Paris, and that was like a very intense kind of an experience for you. Tell us about that, and now you went back, so I want to hear about it.
Well, I always had an affinity for Paris because my mother is Parisian.
Yeah.
So I always, to me, like I grew up with that whole Parisian thing in my head, and so I always wanted to spend time in Paris. So I decided when I was at RISD to take, I rigged up my own exchange program and went to Paris for a year, sophomore year, and went to an haute couture school, which Yves Saint Laurent and a lot of the famous French designers
what an
went
influence,
to.
Yeah,
it was great, and it was great to just, spend the whole year there and really get to know the city and polish up on my French.
Yeah, do you speak French now?
Yeah,
Oui, oui?
Oui, mais oui.
I had a little French in school, and it's funny how you remember things. It's like when I had French in college, and I memorized le matin, je me lève à 7 heures, je me lave, je m'habille, j'ai descendu dans la salle à manger, j'ai dit bonjour à mes parents. And I'll throw that out once in a while.
Just rattle that out.
It just comes out like fast. That. So you speak French, but your mom really had a lot of influence on you because she felt that the Parisians, and it's true, really dressed beautifully.
Well, she was very chic, very chic, and I had all these amazing pictures of her, and she was always like dressed really well. I still have some of her old like platform shoes, and I've lost some of the things over time, but she had these like big shoulder pad jackets and everything. Wow. Yeah, so I have great photos of her that, and that always like I found very inspiring. Well, and I actually like wore a lot of them like when I was in high school and college.
Isn't that nice to have that kind of relationship? Well, you talk about your mom, but I also know about your dad, who was an engineer with GE.
Yes.
And he had an influence on you as well as a designer, perhaps.
Well, I always felt I was very technical. And, oddly enough, my best subjects in high school, not college, were like chemistry and physics and trig and, calculus.
That's pretty good.
So, I was always like really good with numbers and everything. Yeah. So when I was in high school, I always got a lot of pressure to go and, follow that path. But I was so obsessed with fashion. There wasn't any changing my mind at that point.
No, you knew, right? You had an understanding of yourself. You knew where your gift was. Now, you started your first boutique, your first store in 1986, Madison Avenue, right here in New York.
Yes.
And now you've gone on to do great things. Did you dream when you were, 1986, how big your product, your name, your fashion, your style would become?
Well, I think when you're in design school, you always have that fantasy of having your own brand.
Yeah.
And so I was always thinking, well, I would, want my own brand by the time I was like 30 or something. And I think I actually had it before then through a strange set of circumstances because the company I was working for kind of went out of business. So it was financed by a larger company and they were out of money. So we just left. I left with my boss at the time and who became my business partner. And we started this business like on $100,000.
Wow.
But since we didn't have the other business anymore, we had to change the name. So the obvious thing was to just call it my name.
Well, and a good name indeed. I mean, it really has caught on. But you've done so many marvelous things. I want to ask you about the first dress that you designed. It was supposed to be like oversized or something, but it was a big hit.
Well, it was funny because since we didn't have a lot of money behind us, it was really important that my first collection went out and sold. And I came up with this dress the first season. I had kind of a little mandarin collar and little buttons, but that was the only thing that Asian-looking about it. The rest of it was this oversized blouson dress. And back in the 80s, everything was like very large. Shoulder pads and big sleeves. And
for men and women.
Yeah. Well, this is a really oversized dress. Yeah. And we put it on the hanger and we said, this thing is never going to sell.
Surprise.
And, everybody goes, I'll put hanger straps in there. And I go, no, we're just going to ship it as it is. And it went out and it sold like crazy.
I
like
heard.
It sold like thousands and thousands and thousands. And we couldn't even find enough fabric to fill the orders that
Incredible.
we were getting.
Yeah.
And it was selling in every department store. And if you walked around like New York City, like in the springtime,
Yeah.
everybody had that dress on.
That was like a big $5 million hit, I read, right?
It really, yeah. We ended up we did do $5 million the first year in business.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Largely due to that dress.
Do you think, Nicole, that kind of like, got it all started to put you on the map, so to speak?
Well, it certainly gave me enough
Yeah.
leverage to keep going.
More than that 100,000 when you started, right?
I know, because, businesses, money just goes out the window before you know it.
So when someone asks you, and they say, and I'm asking you now, how do you describe your style? I mean, what words would you use to say this is what Nicole Miller's style is all about? What is it?
Well, I've always called myself the uptown, downtown girl. And, I always had a ton of friends on the Upper East Side, and then I live in Tribeca. So I was always sort of like a mix of the two.
Yeah.
And it's also like the good girl, bad girl. So
Yeah, I got it.
So it was always, I would make like, the pretty dress and put a leather jacket over it, which actually got to be quite a big trend. But it was always the kind of thing I was doing from the very beginning.
Right.
Combining kind of like the masculine, hard edge thing with the soft feminine.
Yeah.
And that really became my signature.
Yeah, distinctive. I know. Has it evolved over time? I mean, you're down at the fashion center, right?
Well, trends change. Trends do change. And I went from making those big oversized dresses in the 80s to making kind of very sexy bodycon dresses like in the 90s and the aughts. But trends change and you just adapt to them. But I think that signature is always still there. You still see like the contrast, and combining, the tough with the soft.
I've talked to a lot of celebrities who are musicians and recording artists over the years. I won't name them all, but I mean there are several who have said, my music is distinctive and I want to keep it that way. And so therefore, I don't really listen too much to what others are doing, but especially during the early creative years. I want to just focus on what I like, what I want to do, and not pay attention to somebody else's music. Is that the same way? I mean, do you kind of like say, you know what, I don't want to see what anybody else is doing because it might influence me and I might end up copying it or whatever. Do you kind of keep it pure in terms of what you are, what Nicole Miller is all about?
Well, you try to keep it pure, but you can't live in a closed room.
Right, exactly.
And I think every designer out there
Yeah.
is influenced by another designer. Or maybe it's somebody like in the past, could be somebody like current, and I think everybody tries to make everything their own way.
Is there someone that influenced you? Someone in particular?
Because when I was living in Paris, I used to love like Pierre Cardin.
Sure.
That was like my favorite. But could I make clothes that look like Pierre Cardin?
Yeah. No.
But, and I always liked Yves Saint Laurent. And I kind of he always has a little bit of that masculine touch too, with the tuxedos and that sort of thing.
But it's an influence.
It's an influence,
Yeah.
but I don't think I've ever really made anything that was, that similar to either of theirs.
Yeah.
But, I think it's always good to see what's going on. And I sometimes see designers doing things that are so literal and so obviously somebody else's that it's embarrassing. And I just don't know why they do that. But and I had a couple of assistants once who kind of made versions of other people's designs without telling me.
Okay.
Because if they get an inspiration of somewhere, please show me because I'll make that judgment whether it's like, an acceptable new idea or looks different enough or whatever. And I had a couple of designers that I actually fired because they did things that were too derivative for me and didn't tell me.
Very interesting.
Yeah,
now,
so-
a lot of people are watching and they're listening to us where we're everywhere.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that they're saying, ask her this question. Because I talk to a lot of people. That's my job. And many people say, I'm uncomfortable sometimes when I have to wear a good designer and the logo, the name is like, wow, it's bigger than the sweater. It's like all over the place. It's so huge. There are a lot of people who are uncomfortable with that and wish that they would kind of pull back a little bit. And, use your logo, use your name, but don't overdo it. I want to get your opinion on that.
I
What do you
totally
think?
agree. And I remember when Bottega Veneta had that campaign, when your own initials are enough. And I thought that was great.
Yeah.
And I almost feel like we should go back to that. But I don't mind like a little subtle touch.
Right.
But I went into these designer stores in Paris, and they've got the brand across the sweatshirt, you know.
Right.
And like,
You're like a billboard.
I know, it's ridiculous.
I know.
And also, the people that actually buy those pieces are kind of fashion victims.
That can be a problem. And, the unfortunate thing is that many times, whatever the happens to be, a sweater, a jacket, and so forth, it's good. It's really nice. But the name just is so overpowering that it spoils it. It just takes away from, I think, from the beauty.
I always feel like they should pay me to wear it.
Exactly.
If I'm going to be the
people,
billboard.
I'm sure, are saying that. Hey, let me ask you about. I'm going to bring out a name, and I want to get your response. Barbie doll. I read a story about the Barbie doll that Mattel came to you and said, "We want you to design your own version of the Barbie doll." Tell us about that.
Well, actually, I did 2 Barbies.
You did?
Yeah, and they're actually it was quite a while ago. Probably like 25 years or so ago.
Yeah.
And I still have several in my office. One was called City Shopper, and I don't remember exactly the name of the other one. But it was really a fun project. And I remember every time I went to a personal appearance, literally like 200 people would line up outside for me to sign their Barbies.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah, it has a huge draw. And anyway, and it's great to see this year, like with the movie and everything.
Perfect timing for you.
I know. It was
but
great.
but I have to ask you, I understand that you personally never had a Barbie doll.
Well, it was because my mother was from France. And all our dolls came from France.
Right.
And they all had French names. It was Nadine and Marie Claire and Françoise and everything.
Exactly.
We all had French dolls.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I want a Barbie, I want a Barbie. And mine was like, no, you're not getting a Barbie.
Oh, see that? Yeah, but look at what you did.
I had to get my own.
Exactly. That's a pretty good deal. I wanted to ask you about, people like Beyonce and Sheryl Crow and so many others who wear your clothes. How does that work out? Because people say, it's kind of nice when major personalities are wearing your fashion, your style. How do you feel about that, and how does that work?
Oh, it's fabulous.
Yeah.
I just love it. And Beyonce has been great because, she wore, a lot of things over the years. And there was one dress that has like buttons that look like a necklace on it that she wore to perform in. I've got great pictures of her in that.
Wow.
But also, so she's like, we've lent her stuff, borrowed stuff over the years. But her stylist would also go into our store in L.A. and just pay retail.
Amazing. Amazing.
Which is great.
Yeah, it really is.
So that was great. And then Sheryl Crow, I did a bunch of custom stuff for her over the years. So
right.
There was, there was a dresser she particularly liked that I made in several versions.
That's a nice thing. I mean, it's to your credit, obviously. And you also design men's clothes.
Yes.
Ties especially. I mean, you should have brought a tie in for me today. Next time you come in, I want a tie. What's it like when, switching off? Men, women?
Well, the whole men's business kind of came out of the women's business because when we opened up that store on Madison Avenue, my business partner said, and I was making silk scarves for the store out of some of my favorite prints that I used over the years. So he said, well, why don't you make me, a couple of ties or whatever. So I took 3 prints and I made like a few ties, but the tie manufacturer said, I was going to make like 3 ties. And they said, well, we want to make like 36. So I put the rest of them in the Madison Avenue store, and then they flew out and they were begging for more.
Wow.
Yeah. And the funniest thing was that we'd put a theater ticket tie, and I had the Metropolitan Opera on it.
Oh, yeah.
So anyway, that was a great seller. It sold a lot.
Yeah.
And then the Met gift shop came and said, we want to sell that in our store. So we were selling them for a long time to the Met and everything.
That's
and then
great.
we got a letter from the Met, cease and desist, and you don't have the rights to this or something. We said,
really? It became
we've
a
been
problem.
No.
Yeah.
We said, you're crazy. We've been selling these to you for years.
Yeah. So how did that get settled?
They said, okay, forget it.
Unbelievable. When you talk about ties, I love ties. I mean, being on the air for so many years, I didn't even want to, this is embarrassing. You know how many ties I have at home? And I've collected them over 40 years. Probably about 800 ties.
Oh, my God.
No, I'm serious, because a lot of them have been gifts, whatever it is, holidays and so forth, but I just love ties.
And so few men do these days.
I know, but you know what? I like to dress up. Joseph Abboud was here not too long ago.
Oh, he's great.
Great guy. And he was talking about, his style. He said, I like simple and I like earth colors. He said, that's what I look for. But he said, I think it's important to dress up. And I agree. I have a personal philosophy. When it comes to dressing up and going wherever I happen to go, it doesn't matter whether it's casual or dressy, I always feel like I want to dress nice and look good. And the reason for that is I say, do I want apologies or compliments? If you go someplace and you're not dressed well, you're saying, oh my God, I didn't realize everybody was all dressed. I'm so sorry. Or if you go someplace and you really are dressed pretty well, everybody's saying, hey, I like that shirt, I like that tie. Right. So I'd like to go a little more further with that. There's this, dress down look. How do you feel about that in terms of how we generally dress these days?
Well, I think it's gone too far. It's really gone too far. And the way people dress in airports. Yeah. And first of all, it's a safety hazard. You know, like you're in an airport and you're in flip-flops and a long maxi dress or something, and men are in like sweatpants. Yeah. I mean, it's just.
Why are we doing that?
No. I mean, it doesn't look good, and it's not even like comfortable.
I know. I would always wear a sport coat or something flying. I still do.
Yeah. I mean, I tend to always try to wear like cotton and leather on a plane. I don't want to wear anything synthetic.
Right.
So, I mean, I would wear like jeans often, but I mean, I try to wear like that kind of fiber, which is supposed to be, safest thing to fly in.
Right.
But I would never wear flip-flops or high heels.
No.
I would never wear high heels.
Would you Nicole Miller like to see people dress up a little bit more? Tell me how you feel about that.
I mean, first of all, it's killed my tie business, this casual dress down casualness.
Yeah, right.
So, I mean, I really miss that because I wish men would go back to wearing ties more. That would be great. But no, I don't think people look good looking like slobs.
So can that change? I mean, what it's driven by a lot of things. I mean, the internet, social media, personalities, celebrities, and so forth. They control a lot of that, fashion and style.
I don't know, but I mean, I just know so many men that just say, I just won't wear a tie, unless I'm going to like, a special event or something. Yeah. And even like jackets, people are, I mean, you would look nice if you're wearing a blazer, and a shirt, even if it's open at the neck. Right. But a lot of people won't even like dress like that.
A lot of that formality is gone. Sometimes if I'll spot a video from 1955. In fact, if you're online, sometimes you'll see a video that they post 1955, and they show Fifth Avenue, New York, and you look at the people that are walking around. You've seen it.
And men wore hats. Remember, men wore hats. And women wore hats.
And women wore. And if you see them walking around, everybody's dressed. Take a look at a picture, a baseball game, Yankee Stadium, 1956, and you look into the crowd.
Did they wear suits to the game?
They wore suits and ties. And the little kids, were wearing a little hat, and women were dressed and so forth. Today, if you take that same scene, that same picture, everybody looks the same.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what age group you're at. Doesn't matter what gender. Everybody looks the same.
I know.
It's incredible.
And like sweatshirt and crummy clothes.
Yeah, I know.
That's terrible.
I know. You know what? I love talking with you. I got some questions that I always like to throw out.
Okay.
And if you could say to yourself, I wish I knew this earlier in life, something that you wish you might have known when you were growing up that might have helped you on a personal level, on a professional level, something that you wish you had known.
I think you have to be your own advocate.
Yeah.
Because if you just sit and wait for things to happen to you, or like say, okay for now, or this is okay for now, you should never feel that way. Because, I feel like sometimes people will be dating somebody and they'll go, oh, he's okay for now. And that's like wrong. You should never say, if it's okay for now, it's not okay. Like if it's your job is okay for now, it's not okay.
I see.
I mean, if there's anything that you feel that way about, you should look to change it. Maybe you can't change it tomorrow, but you've got to think about changing it. And whenever you have to just be an advocate for yourself. Yeah. And not wait for somebody else to be out.
Be your own person.
Yeah.
Be your own person.
But you have to be. But I see that a lot of aggressive people get get farther than people that are timid. But you can't sit around and think that it's going to happen to you, or they're just going to discover your talent because you're so talented.
Right.
I mean, that's rare that happens. You have to push to get your talent noticed.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think you have to, make sure you go out there and protect yourself. You often think about that, things you wish you had known. And if you were going to pass along some nugget of wisdom to a newborn baby that they would keep somewhere, and then when they're old enough to understand it, they would go back and read it and say, oh, I'm so glad that she told me that. what kind of advice would you pass on to a newborn and say, you should think about this? I know you just mentioned, being your own person, but what else would you, impart?
I don't know. I mean, just, well, I feel like a lot of times when you're deciding to do something and, like do it or don't do it, it's kind of like you always should do it.
Yeah.
I don't mean like a bad thing, but I mean a lot of times like there's opportunities that you just like let slide.
Yeah.
So it's like opportunities will present themselves to your life, and we all sit back and think, about like, oh, the house we didn't buy,
Yeah,
or the stock we didn't buy.
right. Yeah, some regrets. I wish I had done that.
Yeah. But I mean, I think you have to look at your life that there's going to be all these opportunities that are going to pop up in your life, and to make sure you're aware of these opportunities and you take advantage of them.
Yeah, I think that's very important. I think many times I've always had a philosophy: when something feels a little premature, that's the time to do it. Because if you're thinking about something, it might be on your mind, like I wish I could move or something, or change my job.
Right.
If it starts to grow in your mind, then that's a good time for you to say, well, maybe I really should be doing that, and then start taking some action.
I completely agree.
You do?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But very often there's this little voice in your head, and you don't always pay attention to it. So, if you got that little voice or
listen
something.
to that little voice.
Yeah.
I also, feel patriotism is very important. I think our country needs to be brought together. And we talked about this before we went on the air. There's a lot of divisiveness, a lot of hatred and anger out there.
1,000%.
We don't like it. We don't like it. And, and looking for ways. So talk to me a little bit about your feelings about America, the good things about our country, the opportunities we have here, and some of the things we need to work on, Nicole. What are your thoughts?
Well, I think that people don't really appreciate America enough. I mean, they don't appreciate what a great country we live in and what great opportunities we have here.
And why is that?
And
well, how come they don't appreciate it? What's wrong?
I don't know, but I just feel like there's so much negativity now, and everybody is looking for something to hate and to something to change. And, I just feel like we're just so lucky to be here. And, I mean, it's just a fabulous country, and there's fabulous things to do here and opportunities.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I just get tired of people being so negative all the time.
But
Everybody's
we're looking, Nicole, for answers, okay? I mean, we're all looking for answers. You and I are sitting here now and saying, what do we do? What do we do? I mean, I always look to leadership, and I say, we need people who are going to push us in the right direction.
Right. Well, I think a lot of the negativity stems from jealousy, and I think a lot of people are very jealous, and that's why they look to push people down.
You're right.
But, it's really interesting, like Eric Adams made a great speech the other night at an event I went to, and it was really a very nice dynamic speech. I wish more people had heard it, but it was really about stopping the hate.
Stopping the hate.
Stopping the hate, yeah. And it was really, really very impressive.
Well, it's good to hear that. I mean, I think we need so much of that. I mean, I would just like to be able to see our leaders turn around and say, okay, we're going to have a campaign. We're going to try to be more kind to one another and do something. I mean, form a campaign that you might have hands across New York. Go into all the boroughs and for one day everybody starts thinking about civility.
Well, that's a good idea.
Doing something. I mean, but creating programs. If you remember,
it's always a protest. There's never like a positive thing. Yeah.
Remember Nancy Reagan? She had a campaign, just say no to drugs. That was very effective.
Right.
And I think that if we have campaigns where we're actually asking people to take action, smile, smile when you're out on the street, look at somebody and wave or something. Just do something. I know it sounds corny, but we need to do something to reactivate our feelings. We really do, on a positive level.
If you smile at somebody in New York, they'll just think you're weird or they're hitting on you or something.
Oh, man. I still have a lot of things to talk to you about. I know you're married, happily married, and you have a son.
Yeah.
And, in fact, you were telling me about that little necklace that you have on there. Tell me about that. It's a little palm tree.
Well, my son's name's Palmer, and this friend of mine had, her father's a jeweler, and she gave it to me.
Yeah, that's great.
I was very envious of it. I said, I want one of those. And she goes, you can have mine.
Isn't that nice?
Yeah.
Do you believe in love at first sight?
I really don't.
No.
No. And it's funny because certainly I dated a lot of people before I got married, but I don't know, it was always people that grew on me that I actually didn't like at first.
So when you decided to get married to your husband, what was the turning point?
Well, no, I mean, we were actually friends first, and we were part of the same friend group, and we hung out together and whatever, and grew on each other somehow kind of organically or whatever. But I feel like that's always happened to me. I ended up sort of dating somebody that I kind of knew already a little bit.
Wow.
Yeah.
How many years you been married now?
28.
28 years. And when you start thinking about your life, you say, you know what? I mean, I think about life and I say, you know, it's great. And there's still more to go. I mean, what dream do you have? I mean, here you are, you've accomplished so much, you've done so many things. What's left for you in your mind?
Well, actually, I've been traveling a lot.
Yeah.
So I actually, COVID cut down on travel. So I've actually been trying to, I've been going on trips that I might not have normally gone on. And this year I was a judge for Miss USA.
Oh yeah. You've been doing that. You've been on a lot of television shows too. Iron Chef, right? And
yeah, that was
The
fun.
Price is Right. You were on that too.
Oh my God!
You've been doing a lot of television.
I forgot about that. Yeah, that was.
So you still have some dreams, right? I mean, I think that's so important. Personally, that's how I live my life. I always feel like I don't say to myself, I've been there and I've done that. I feel what's left. What else can I do? And centenarians are great. They have a sense of curiosity. They're always trying to learn something. They're active. They believe somebody else is part of their life. They share their life. And I think that's what keeps you young and youthful. What would you say is maybe your secret to living every day and what you look for today and tomorrow?
Well, I mean, I always have a great time because I have a great staff in the office.
Yeah.
And they're all like 25, and they're still happy to hang out with me.
Good. You know what they say? A friend is somebody who knows you and still likes you. They know all about you.
And it's funny because I have this whole network of like past assistants.
Yeah.
And it's kind of a funny story because I took one girl to El Paso, Texas to design cowboy boots. She ended up falling in love with the bootmaker,
really?
And he gave her the business. So now she lives in El Paso and
Look at
makes
that.
Rocket Buster cowboy boots, which is the best boots on the planet.
Fantastic.
And then I took another girl to New Zealand.
Yeah.
She met a guy there. Now she's living in New Zealand. And
Boy,
and
you're a
it's-
matchmaker.
I tell you, and girls are always saying, "Can I travel with you, Nicole?"
Yeah, it's kind of nice,
I don't know, I'm gonna like put the kibosh on this though. Like if I take them somewhere, I'm like, no dating.
That's it. Some final thoughts. I always like to ask, maybe there's something that you want to share with our audience. There could be some young person out there who's thinking, boy, I wish I could be like her. I wish I could have that kind of, gift, talent, and success. And it doesn't necessarily have to be about career, but just something that you want to share with our viewers and listeners that you think is a personal message. What would it be?
Well, I think it's really important to have your own identity.
Yeah.
You have to really be an individual and stand out. And I think it's really important for everybody to go out there and try not to be part of the masses.
Be your own self.
Yeah.
I've used this quote before, and I'll share it with you again. And I like this a lot. Don't go where the path may lead. Go where there's no path and leave a trail.
Oh, I would love that.
Isn't that nice?
That is great.
Yeah, I mean, and you've done that too. You've been a real inspiration. Nicole, this has been fun.
Yeah, but
All
always,
my hands.
always great to see you.
I really like to connect with our people and all of our viewers. I thank you so much. Nicole Miller, you're a delight.
Well, thank you.
Good luck to
It's
you
great
and to
be
your
here.
family and continued success and happiness, okay?
And
The
we'll
great
send
Nicole Miller.
we'll send you some more ties.
Hey, I'd like that, okay? Thank you so much for watching, and we'll catch you next time. Bye.